హలో ఫ్రెండ్స్, వెల్కమ్ బ్యాక్ టు పక్కా వైజాగ్. మీరు ఈ ఛానల్ని ఇంకా సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసుకోకపోతే వెంటనే సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసుకుని బెల్ ఐకాన్ని యాక్టివేట్ చేసుకోండి. మన విశాఖపట్నం పోర్ట్ని స్థాపించి 88 ఇయర్స్ అయిన సందర్భంగా ఈ ప్లేస్ తాలూకా హిస్టరీని తెలుసుకోవడానికి మన వైజాగ్ హెరిటేజ్ నరేటర్ అయిన జయశ్రీ హతంగడి గారు ఈ హెరిటేజ్ వాక్ని కండక్ట్ చేశారు. ఇప్పటి వరకు మనం ఎప్పుడూ వినని వైజాగ్ పోర్ట్ తాలూకా హిస్టారికల్ ఫ్యాక్ట్స్ని తెలుసుకోవడంతో పాటు 88 ఇయర్స్ బ్యాక్ వైజాగ్ పోర్ట్ ఓపెనింగ్ సెరమనీలో సెంట్ లోషస్ స్కూల్ బ్యాండ్ ప్లే చేసిన సాంగ్స్ని మళ్ళీ ఇప్పుడు ప్లే చేసి మనకు చూపించబోతున్నారు. ఈ వీడియోని ఎక్కడ స్కిప్ చేయకుండా పూర్తిగా చూడాలని నా మనవి.
You who are unfamiliar with me, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Jayashree Hatangadi and I love to call myself the heritage narrator. So this particular evening has been special for all of us, and when you look around us, what we see is the nautical story of our city, and it's all over from a long time. Today, the culmination of us getting together, those lovely, smart, young boys from St. Aloysius Band are joining me in welcoming you for this evening, and the whole idea will be shared with you later. So, Pramod, can we have the welcome music, please? Pramod. Vizag has got lovely, unknown, lovely facts, and today all of you being with me itself, we connect with something that is very in the past. Is it necessary or not? The question remains answered because all of you are here with me today. So a very good evening and welcome to this evening's program, which we are trying to bring in. Actually call in for after 88 years of this very opening of the harbour. So let me begin with, this is one of the oldest recorded maps, 1758, which tells you the Dolphins is here, the Dargah, the Ross Hill, and so we are standing somewhere here, and this one was completely marshy, swampy, lot of, how do you say, water, backwaters, something which you would have never imagined to what we are today in 2021. Lot of different activities, different ways of showcasing the kind of engineering that has happened, went on, and it goes on. So let me share one very interesting story, because recently, I don't know how many of you have been listening to the fact that there is a ship called INS Visakhapatnam, which was commissioned from Mazagon docks. This particular ship is a real made in India, I mean absolutely Atma Vishwas and whatever you want to call it, but it's magnificent. So there was a story by John Castellers, who's been providing me with information, text, photos. He has been doing wonderful things, so I can share it with all of you. So the idea is, were there other ships called Visakhapatnam? The interesting part was 300 years, really 300 years, 1721, a ship called Visakhapatnam Merchant with the captain called William Jones came from the port of Porta Nova via Chennai, Madras to Visakhapatnam, and they all would stay at that distance and do their trading and everything else. It was I think it's called Brigantium ship vessel, which has 2 masts, Brigantium. It has 2 masts, which is wonderful of those times. It was a wonderful ship which came in. So what was the name of the ship? Visakhapatnam Merchant. And the captain was William Jones. So how do we know he actually came here? We got to know of him because the way he wrote about Dolphin Nose Hill, he called something called the Mosquito Hill. Those days, one of the hills close by was known as Mosquito Hill. Can you guess which one it is?
The one we are lighthouse.
The one we are standing on. Yeah, Mosquito Hill. And the other one was known as Pagoda Hill, which was the Dargah. And they called it the Red Sand Dunes, even those. He called it Red Sand Hills, he called it. So that was how he described it, and that was how it went. The map which we have between 1758 and 1906, everything has got structured. Everything has got mapped out. So this particular map says we've concentrated with everything here. So this is what it was. Now let me tell you, what I do is a walk. This is the first time that I'm only using photos, standing here and making you stand here and not doing a walk, because everything is right here behind us. So usually when I do a walk on this hill, we do 180 degrees and 8 stories, which talks about how the Ross Hill came up, what happened, who named Dolphin Hill. We had World War II here. How did they put the groins and how did they make the harbour at the initial times? Different stories are there. But today we are concentrating only on the harbour opening. 1875, this one is a photograph published by Hughes and Brothers, Mount Road. It was supposed to be such a lovely photograph that people loved this beautiful place and knew about it. And they would be selling it at the Visakhapatnam photographic views. Visakhapatnam, Bimlipatnam, Hughes Brothers sold at Mount Road 25 rupees per dozen. This photograph was being sold those days at 25. So you imagine the beauty that was captured in those days, and it kept on talking, and that's the beauty about it. This one is View the Visakhapatnam. This is like the French magazine that talks about how Vizag was those days with the backwaters, the Ross Hill, the Dargah, St. Aloysius, Voltaire. This again, what happened? When this was there was no channel, there was no harbour, there was no port. So can you tell me, where were the ships then?
Yeah, it's on the beach.
Yeah, sort of, but away from the beach. In the ocean. Where were they? Because they could not come inwards. They couldn't come. So then how did they do the trading? How did they do the business?
Tugboat, fishing boats.
Yeah. They're known as Masoli boats. And it was a huge trade. And they would be bargaining and things like that. That was a massive one. So then, was there any building happening here? One thing was, where the INS Sarkar is today, there was something called the mud docks there. This is called mud docks. The shallow waters, the high seas, ships had lot of repairs. They would all be brought to that area, and these little boats or ships, whatever, they would take craftsmen to do it. All the navies would say one of the best craftsmen they were to be doing the repairs beautifully well. And this is one of the US Navy's still speaks about the mud dock engineering or the mud docks repair. This ship is the first ship built right here at Visakhapatnam in the year 1821, Diana, 185 tons. And this particular ship saw action in the Anglo-Burmese War, did a pilot vessel, and it also was part of the Anglo-Burmese War, and at the same time it did the pilot vessel of Hooghly River. This particular boat is supposed to be a very interesting first adventure of Vizag, building of the boat. Now, lot of business. There was British Steam Navigation Company. All of them doing different kinds, and so it says, you know the word they would use? Visakhapatnam roadways. Can anybody tell me where were the Visakhapatnam roadways during those times in the 1700s and the 1800s? There was no beach road.
Main road, that main road.
There was no main road. It was full swampy and everything. The ocean or the sea itself was known as the roadways. So that was a term they had used those days. The seaways were known as the roadways those days. So that's how it is. And so here it played a lot of role. It was disturbing. They did not have some place where the larger ships could come in. They just couldn't come in. So what happened was they decided that something has to be done. So just like today we also say theme park, we say Phalana, we say that thing in the future. They also had in the future for 100 of years. 100 years they were planning for a harbour. It would come forward, it wouldn't go. Today we have the DPR of 148 pages of what they proposed, a 19 pages which was done in let's say 1916 where they passed it. Finally what happened in 1960s, and it was so vibrant. This map really shows you how vibrant they were all coming this side. So much trade was happening, and imagine if your ships could not come straight here, it becomes difficult. So the area, it was shallow waters, silt, monsoonal, different kinds of shapes that were happening. It was difficult to do it, and also the backwaters, everything had to be done. And so in January 1927 we had something called the SD Visakhapatnam. Yeah, this is a suction dredger which came in, and this started from the backwaters and started sucking and taking it, making whether the outer harbour possible for more things to come in, possible for them to make different pathways, and that's how January 24th this came in. And then the dipper dredger came a little later. So while this was taking out the other dipper dredger, the propylene one, which allowed the sand and all to be removed so that the pathway could be made. This one is an interesting photograph. While this was happening, there was a secret happening. They wanted to have a naval base. Not only that, they had lot of airway strength happening. 4 RAF, Napier, flying boats they call them. They wanted to do long distance from London to Australia while they must do fueling. The first stop they decided was Visakhapatnam. So when they did that, on the way, and they took a photographer by the name Ratnam, and he photographed it while flying in this RAF ship. This is a smaller version of his larger picture, where first time the ship took a turn. That means SD, suction dredger, took a turn. Can you imagine, where even small boats were finding it difficult? Here they did dredging and they actually got a beautiful space made, and they were able to bring in this ship. And this is how the backwaters looked like, the swamp. So these are the photographs that we have. And on, now we get very close while they're making the pathway. You've seen the photograph. This particular one is in 1933, where they bought SS, steamship, Janus and Steel Wilsden. First two ships were berthed in Vizag near the Dolphin Hill, so that we have that breakers. These were the breakers. And then before the launch or the opening, we had something called the SS Jaladurga. 7th October 1933, it was the first ship that sailed right through here. Can you imagine the excitement? The opening was today, 1933. But why did they bring a ship to go through? They were exactly trial run. But this ship itself, Jaladurga itself, had such a long story. It was part of the British Navigation Steam Company. Scindia Steam Company bought it, and that was the first ship that came. While it was SS Kakinada, it did a lot of activity while taking people from Vizag to Rangoon. It was known as the Burma service. 3,760 was the maximum capacity. Nowhere in the world did they carry that much labor those days. So this was the ship, and this did the trial run, and it was successful. So this is how Kakinada looked, and this is how Jaladurga looked. I will be passing it around. Okay, can we have that? Thank you. I'll tell you the story of Times Weekly edition, 29 June 1933. It was a double spread. A painting of our very harbour coming up. And this was what already, and it was exciting. It was spread in all the newspapers, Singapore, Paris, everybody covered this news. It was massive. So I will read out the invitation card that was sent out to every dignitary. What happened was, the entire job was entailed to the Bengal Nagpur railways. They built the railways. They also, all of them resided around here in the railway bungalows. And one of the most interesting part was, the Voltaire Club was their evening haunt. This Bengal railway, because the construction was over, they were given to build the harbour. So this harbour was, in charge engineer was Colonel Reed, Cartwright Reed, and his wife was Julia. She was the one who also cut the ribbon for the ship SD Visakhapatnam some time ago, dredger. So here also he is an expert, an admiralty who knows how to make ports at Durban, Chennai, and then this was handed over. So when all this was handed over, the Viceroy came in from Chennai, and his name was George Frederick Stanley. He came by the Bengal Railway. He was welcomed here. A Chevy by the Maharaj, Rolls Royce by the Maharaja brought him over. This entire portion was beautifully decorated. It was all done. So what happened was, I will read the invitation. Visakhapatnam Harbour opening ceremony. His Excellency the Viceroy on 19 December 1933, presentation of address Visakhapatnam District Board welcomes everybody. Music and program by H.H. Maharaja Vizianagaram. On this occasion, the school St. Aloysius Band along with Father Desnier played on that day. So when I asked Father, let's connect history, he sent his team here to connect history of those days. Give them a big drum roll, come on. So let me describe now. I know I've taken standing here, making you stand is a little uncomfortable, but let me tell you, on that day, towards us was D.D. Voltaire, which was a dipper dredger. Towards that side was suction dredger Visakhapatnam. On the middle was a ceremonial barge, which was heavily decorated. Heavily decorated. And what happened was, a tugboat, the Viceroy went in the tugboat. You must listen to this. And it was known as Ship Fantasia. And the music was going on. Come on, show them how the music was going on. Drum roll. boy with his scissors, big one, cut through these papers, and the harbour was opened 88 years ago. And this is how it looked. Festooned that day, you can pass it around. Mala. You can just have a look. And while this goes on, it was a lot of beautiful increase in business. We had the shipyard, we had so many other steel plant, zinc, BHPV. You can just spread it out. I mean, just for fun, I did. I just wanted color in it. So all that. So the business increased. Today we are the port, or we are the harbour. Vizag is the harbour, and the harbour is Vizag. The first naval official ship that came in was in October 1935, HMS Colombo. They really thought that they will have a lot of different kinds of ships that have to come in here. But the Navy anyway took over as we went along. And how many of you know that the first built ship, you all know that? Which one was it? Jala Usha. 15th March 1948, built by?
That's the only thing I know.
So this is it, and this was done. And let me ask you, and while we stand here, we have the dolphin nose there. So this is something which so we have, while we are talking here, there was a lot of beautiful art and craft. One was the tortoise shell with ivory, and most of them had this wonderful design which had Dolphin Hill and a flagstaff on top. And that's when they would say the mariners went across the roads, they would say. And this had a time gun. And they would signal every day with a boom sound. Can we have a boom sound? Come on. Yeah, one boom sound. Yes. And this at 9 in the morning, 12 at noon, and again at 9 at night. That was the time. That was the way they looked after for us about time those days. So I hope you've enjoyed. And at the same time, yes, I will share these pictures around. You can have a look and kindly return them to me. But in the meantime, the boys will play music for you. And I have one question. Who is regarded as a non-Indian naval admiral? No, Indians can play. Regarded, I mean, in the 17th century, regarded as an admiral, great admiral, and what is his connection with Vizag? It's a question I know you won't answer, but I will tell you very soon. It's a great naval admiral who had questioned, okay, what is his connection to Vizag? Are tell you that? No. Lord Nelson of the Battle of Trafalgar, when he was 15 years, he sailed here in 1775 on a ship called HMS Seahorse. So my way of thinking is, how many people in the world must have crossed these oceans, must have crossed these seas, taken back beautiful memories, have got a lot of love for this ocean and shoreline. And today, just like all of us, Vizag, I love our shoreline. I thought today was a great day to share it with you. And with that, we'll have Pramod. Yeah, do that march one. Yeah. St. Aloysius Band. This is again Father Desnier, and with his band he played in 1941. And today it's 2021. 3 cheers for the St. Aloysius Band. Hip hip! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Yay! Come on, give it a loud yes. Come on, say 1, 2, 3. Yay! It's extremely important that you as a Vizagite should be able to take them and speak well. What, somewhere? Absolutely. So, this is the reason why I look very funny with my bag and I climb pillars and do that, so that my nataks and all of us together, people should know we are interested, we care about our heritage wherever we are. Because even our Buddhist one does not have an interpretation center, it does not even have a toilet. So, unfortunately.
ఆ క్రేన్స్ కి ఆపరేట్ చేసింది మా తాతగారు. ఆయన రిటైర్ అవ్వడంతో క్రేన్స్ ని ఆపరేట్ చేసేవారు లేక అమ్మేశారు. అంటే అప్పుడు టెక్నాలజీ ఎవరైనా చేసేయచ్చు అన్నంత ఈజీగా లేదని చెప్పడం కోసం నేను ఈ విషయం చెప్తున్నానండి. చాలా కష్టపడితే ఈ స్టేజ్లో 88 years కంప్లీట్ చేసుకున్నాము. వెన్ కంపేర్ టు అదర్ కంట్రీస్ 200 years అయిపోతాయి, 220 years అయిపోతాయి, 300 years అయిపోతాయి. యాజ్ యు సెడ్ హెరిటేజ్, దే వాల్యూ దెమ్. ఇంకా కంపెనీ రన్ అవుతుంది అంటాం, ఇక్కడ 88 years కి అబ్బాయి 88 years అయిపోయిందా అంటాం. ఇట్స్ వెరీ ఫనీ థింగ్. యాక్చువల్లీ ఇది ఇలా వెళ్ళాలి అంటే ముందు ఉన్నదాన్ని కాపాడుకోవాలి. దీని గురించి 10 మందికి తెలియాలి, ఇలాంటి పిల్లలకి ఎస్పెషల్లీ తెలియాలి. మాకే తెలియదు, ఇంకా వాళ్ళకి చెప్పడానికి ఏముంది. సో ఐ ఫెల్ట్ వెరీ హ్యాపీ వైల్ సీయింగ్ దిస్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అబౌట్ దిస్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ అండ్ ఐ ఫిక్స్ మై మైండ్ దట్ ఐ షుడ్ బీ హియర్. ఎలా అయినా సరే రావాలి, థ్యాంక్ యూ అన్నది కాన్సెప్ట్ వచ్చింది. ఎందుకంటే బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దట్ గిల్టీ కాన్షియస్నెస్. ఏం వెళ్తానులే మళ్ళీ ఆఫీస్కే వెళ్ళాలా, నా ఆఫీస్ పక్కనే, సండే కూడా ఆఫీస్కి వెళ్ళాలా అని అనిపించింది. ఆ తర్వాత అనుకున్నాను మనకి ఫుడ్ పెట్టేటప్పుడు సండే అని ఆలోచిస్తున్నాం, తినేస్తాను కదా. సో లెట్ us think in this way. నేను కూడా అంత ట్రెడిషనల్గా ఆలోచించడం కరెక్ట్ కాదు, బీయింగ్ అన్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ ఇంజనీర్. సో ఐ వాంట్ టు బీ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ మై ఫెస్టివల్ అండ్ ఐ వాంట్ టు బీ ప్రౌడ్.
Thank you so much.
అండ్ ఇలా చేస్తుంటే ఎస్ సార్, ఐఎమ్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ ఇంజనీర్ అట్ పోర్ట్ ట్రస్ట్.
Give her a big hand.
The Harbour Inaugural Board today lies in a very shabby condition, and we are still asking for people to bring it out. I think we should. It still lies like that. I went and saw it myself. Wonderful. We finished it exactly at 5 as promised.
మన విశాఖపట్నం పోర్ట్ గురించి ఎన్నో కొత్త విషయాలు మీరు ఇవాళ తెలుసుకున్నారని నేను భావిస్తున్నాను. నాకు ఈ అవకాశం ఇచ్చిన జయశ్రీ హతంగడి మేడంకి కృతజ్ఞతలు చెప్పుకుంటున్నాను. మన ఛానల్లో కంటెంట్ మీకు నచ్చినట్టయితే ఖచ్చితంగా పక్కా వైజాగ్ని సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసి పక్కనే ఉన్న బెల్ ఐకాన్ ట్యాప్ చేయండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ వాచింగ్. సీ ఇన్ ది నెక్స్ట్ వీడియో.